Hi everyone, welcome to Woolen Spinning. This is sort of a bonus vlog, if you will. I wanted to take you on a journey this Halloween making some Rolags that were Halloween inspired. Nora has been asking for a toque that is the Alaska toque pattern where you've got those trees, and she wants a gradation of like evergreens in the foreground rather than the dark trees in the foreground like in the pattern. And she's been asking for a Christmas toque where we would actually sew on some sequins after for baubles. And it kind of got me thinking, because I had made my Halloween toque years ago and done the vlog on Halloween of the drum carding of all of the fibers and all the colors. And I thought, how fun would it be to recreate that now in 2020 after the year that we've all been having, but in Rolag form, because I still have a lot of those colors in my stash, so it'd be kind of fun to use them up. And also to start to think about how I'm going to create those trees for Nora. I think I might do that fiber on my drum carder. So I have sort of all of this carding and all of this color that I wanted to do, and I thought I'd take you along for the ride. So let's get into it and let's sort of see what we come up with. And for those who haven't seen the toque that I made back in 2000, I think I spun the fiber in 2017 or 2018, something like that. And I'll include a link below and maybe even a photo in the post for on Patreon for you guys to see that toque and how much fun that toque came out, because it's still to this day one of my favorite toques. I wear it the week of Halloween, and so I wore it this morning. And then I sort of put it away and save it for the coming years. So for these Rolags, what I would like to do is create a combination of two different types of Rolags. So I would like to do some self-striping Rolags where the colors are put on the blending board across so that it's one color after another. And then I'd like to do a set of Rolags that are all blended up, where the colors are sort of put on top of each other and taken off so that they're all sort of mixed up and mixed together. So let's sort of see what we come up with, and we'll go from there. So I have some really fun fibers in my stash that I have sort of collected over time. So these are kind of what I was thinking for the greens, and then easing into the purples. This is some color, West Coast color, that I had in my stash that I've sort of over time used up. I think it's BFL, it might be Polworth, I'm not really sure. And this is some really sort of interesting carded wool that my mom actually got for me. It's meant for felting, it's not really meant for spinning, but this is sort of what it looks like here. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus there. So this is sort of what it looks like. It's this wool blend and these fibers that are sort of carded up and sort of a bit, well, they're kind of interesting, to be honest. It's meant for felters. So that is the purple here, which is sort of an interesting purple. It's got that lovely wine color. And then I have more of this light purple here that is, I think it's Corriedale. This is Corriedale that was in my stash from eons ago, and I have some really, really fun Firestar here that I will show you. It's those gorgeous sort of blacks and purples, some yellow is in there. It's just, I've never seen this Firestar again. I saw it once at Chaotic Fibers, and I've never seen it again. So this is some orange that was left over in my stash. It's pretty crazy bright. And this is Corriedale as well. We had this for Fiber Club years ago. I also have some green thread from Sari Silk. This is Sari Silk fiber. There's some green in there. I don't see any orange. Oh, there's some orange in there buried. So we'll pull some of that out as well. Put that with, I'm going to just pull it out and put it with my orange, because we'll work some of this thread in as well, the Sari Silk, and we'll cut it basically. I take my scissors and I like to cut it. It adds a lot of texture, a lot of interest. It's really, really fun. So that's sari silk, and it gets everywhere. So just so that you know, it gets everywhere. You can have quite long threads of it sometimes, so you really do need to cut it. When you come across it in your spinning, if you've added it in and you haven't cut it, it can be quite difficult to work with if you haven't cut it a little bit shorter. And then I have some black. So this is black Perendale from my stash, and I've had this in my stash for quite a long time, and I will be working that in as well. So there's the black. It's I love black. I don't spin it very often, but I just love it. And I also have some black merino. So I may work a little bit of the merino in with the Perendale, just for softness more than anything. And I really would like to work sort of across. So you've got the black into the purple, into the green, into the orange, I think is maybe how I'm going to do this, so that the orange is at the very top, and that's sort of how I will stripe across. I'm going to grab my toque. Actually, I wasn't going to bother, but I'm going to grab my toque just to sort of see how I did the colors in that. And then I can sort of compare and contrast and decide if I want to do that again. With the toque, I had actually used the black to divide between the orange and the purple and the green. So I had actually gone from the green up to the purple, to the black, and then to the orange. So I had, and then I had added some commercial yarn to finish off the crown, because I didn't actually have enough yarn, and I had used black I think it was Cascade 220 that I had in my stash that was worsted weight that kind of matched the yarn, and I used that for the brim of the toque. I will link the name of this pattern in the show notes. I think it's by Ann Weaver, but I will double check and link that for you guys. So I think what we'll do for the first set of Rolags is we'll mimic this, and then we'll go from there as we make another set or so. So let's start with the green. I'm going to put the sari silk off to the side, and I am going to break up these this comb top that I have. And I am just going to start placing the fiber down. Kate Sharat of Ashford talks about the blending board being like a painter's palette. I am kind of inclined to agree. I think that she's on to something. Now, because I have 4 colors that I want to do, the green, the purple, the black, and the orange, I'm sort of thinking about dividing the blending board up into quarters. So I'm thinking sort of in my mind, if this is approximately the halfway point of the blending board, and then half of that half is a quarter. So I sort of want to put the green up to about here, the purple goes here, and then the black, and then the orange goes on the other side. So I'm sort of in my mind thinking in the back of my head about color placement, where these colors are going, how much I'm filling in. I'm not going to make my Rolags really super thick. I want them to be manageable at the wheel. I have no plan for these. I don't really know what I'm actually going to do with them. I just thought it would be really fun to make them. So I'm just going to place this fiber here. This is the orange. So it's a couple of days before Halloween here, and the kids are getting very excited indeed. James is going as a skeleton, and Nora is going as a witch. She's super excited. Actually, I have to say, we did get her a witch's cape, so I'm going to layer them. So there's the layer of wool underneath, and then there's the sari silk threads, and then there's a layer of Corriedale on top as well. So, and if I want to put any other texture, I can lay the Corriedale, the wool on top here, and I can put another bit of fiber on. Now, I had, in my original toque, I had actually included a whole bunch of Angelina in the crown, not in the crown, in the bat. And this is actually this really offensive pinky Angelina that I have in my stash. And because it's this pink, kind of neon pink color, it actually takes on the orange really well. And you can't see that it's pink against the orange because the orange is so bright and neon that it just kind of takes it on. So I'm not going to put tons and tons of Angelina on. I love sparkle in this kind of stuff. If you're not fulling your stuff and you're just kind of introducing the sparkle in, and you're going to be knitting with your yarn, it's just a really fun substance. It is plastic. It's just fun. So for something like this, I'm not going to analyze it too much. Now I'm going to put the black on, and I'm actually going to start the black. I'm just going to get the orange out of the way. I'm going to start the black at the halfway mark so that I sort of know where I need to build it out to. Now I'm actually using the paddle to sort of push the fiber in, and then I'm raking down. I am going to get some of that, my favorite purpley Angelina. This is Firestar, this purple stuff. So what I was going to say about Nora's costume is she normally we would try to make the kids costumes and do all that, but this year we decided it's such a weird year that we took them to a store that is seasonal, and it opens up here every October. And it's they go into like vacant warehouse type stores, big box stores that have been left vacant. And it's called Spirit of Halloween. For those who live locally, you probably know the store that I'm talking about. And we let the kids, we gave them a budget of how much money they could spend, and we let them pick a few things for their costumes. So Nora actually was able to get a witch's cape, and she got a witch's broom. So she's just over the moon. And I'm really pleased for the kids, because this year is kind of odd. They're not going to be trick-or-treating, but we are doing a physically distanced bonfire in our cul-de-sac with our friends. And we'll have dinner together. Obviously not together. We'll all make our own stuff and bring it out. And we're going to set the kids up in one of the garages to watch a Halloween movie together. I think it'll be really a good sort of a good save, if you will, of the of Halloween. Okay, so let's go over to the green side again, and I'm just going to kind of put some of this fiber on that's the green. I'm not really sure why I went over to the orange. I just sort of started working, and that was sort of where I was taken. So that's what I ended up doing. So I'm going to lay some of this merino that's been in my stash for years. I think I bought this light green that I'm putting on. I think I bought it in 2007. I don't love spinning from Rolags. It's not my, I've said this before on the show, they're not my favorite thing. But I really enjoy doing the blending board, and every so often I'm like, oh, I haven't gotten my blending board out for a while. I really should. And sometimes I'm able to, and sometimes I don't get to it. Now, when you take these off, they are going to bloom and grow. Rolags, it's just like on the drum carder. You know, you think you've got a certain amount of fiber, and you think, oh, that's about right, and that's going to be, you know, a nice size bat, and then you take it off and it just blooms. There we go. All right, let's take this first set off and see what we've got. So I try to take them off so that they are relatively even. I find that really difficult to always do. I actually think that it's a little bit easier taking Rolags off of a drum carder to ensure that they're even, because you can weigh everything and you can ensure that the fiber is loaded on your drum carder really evenly all the way around the drum, and then you can make sure that you're doing the same number of turns every single time. Whereas with the blending board, I find it's a little bit more challenging, and sometimes I end up with Rolags that are a little bit bigger than others. The problem with that is that if you have more fiber in one of your Rolags versus another Rolag, you're going to end up with different lengths of stripes in your finished yarn. If you care about that, that's important to make sure that you're taking off your Rolags evenly. And if you don't care, then just take them off however it feels comfortable. So I am going to lay my 2 dowels, and you want to space your dowels so that you have, so that they're at different, they're not parallel to one another. So you want to make sure that they're offset. And that's just to ensure that when you're ready to take your dowels out, that you're able to do that. So I am going to go to the end of my fiber here, and I'm just going to roll over. So for those who haven't used a blending board before, this is how you take your fiber off. I like to just bring it in a little bit. So you're going to lay one underneath, one on top, go over. So this is 1, 2, and you're going to draft. You can use the carding cloth to sort of get it nice and tight. How fun is that? So there is the first one. And then what I like to do, some people like to roll them. Some people like to just leave them straight. It's totally up to you and what you prefer. I'm going to roll this one up just so that you guys can see it. So this is the first little, how fun is that? So we'll take off the other ones. So I'm just going to lift up the fibers again to get it going. Lay my dowels onto the blending board here, fold it over. I've got some fiber here that didn't get lifted up. I really try to make sure that as I'm going that the board is left relatively clean. So 1, this just tightens up the fiber on the dowel. Then we're just going to pop this through. So fun. So much fun. I just love making these. They are so much fun. So I'm going to roll this one up as well. And there's that one. So that's 2. I usually can get 4 or 5 of these off of the blending board. It really seems to work quite well. I have an Ashford blending board. There's lots on the market. You can definitely find many different brands that work really super well if you want bigger if you want a bigger board, or if you want, you know, certain features, you want, there's lots and lots of stuff on the market. I think I'm only going to get 4 off of this board, but that is perfect. Now, some people will actually weigh each of the colors so that they know that there's an equal amount of fiber across the board. If you're selling and you're, you know, wanting to be really super consistent and creating Rolags that people are actually purchasing and spinning from, I think it's definitely a good idea to be a little bit more technical about what you're doing. Obviously I'm just using them for myself, so I don't sort of feel that need. Now, what I might do, depending on how much fiber I have left over after, is I may actually spin these to 2 separate bobbins, and then I can ply them, and there will be a little bit of color mixing, but it would be really kind of fun. So those are the 4 self-striping Rolags. I think they're just beautiful. I absolutely love them. So I'm gonna reset up, and we'll go do the ones that are blended next. And I don't know if I'm gonna get these spun up in time, but I'll do my best. And we'll see the difference between a self-striping Rolag like this and the ones that are all blended up and the colors are all mixed up. So, and some of you will like one over the other, and some of you will like both, and some of you will like neither, and that's totally fine. So let me get all set up, and then we'll start all over again. Second set of Rolags, I wanted to do a blend, so where the colors are all kind of blended up, and they are sort of placed on kind of randomly. There's not really any like rhyme or reason. They're just sort of painted on in a random fashion. So I'm just going to have fun with this. I'm just going to grab whatever I sort of want to do next. I'm not going to plan this out too much. I'm just going to rake the fibers down the board. I really like doing this type of work because, number one, it's quite a bit faster, and there's a huge amount of just creative kind of license, come what may. You may or may not like the finished yarn. It doesn't really matter. You approach it sort of as an experiment, curious wonder. These fibers are all there isn't any fiber or color, sorry, I shouldn't say fiber. There isn't any color in this that is a primary color. These are all secondary colors. So green is made by combining yellow with blue. Orange is made by combining yellow and red. And purple, of course, is red and blue. So you can imagine that this is going to be quite crazy because you have every single color in the color wheel mixed up together. So that's why it's so much fun to look at the contrast between making something where the colors are placed evenly. And in specific stripes versus kind of mixed up like this. Very, very different yarn, very different experience. But you can also see that this is very fast. Oh, I haven't put in any of the purple yet, so let's put that on. I think both types of blending and fiber preparation, like in terms of loading this thing and having fun with it, they both have their place. You know, I think this is really super fun to make and to do. You can, you know, basically put on whatever you want in whatever order you want. You have complete and total creative license. And remember, there's not going to be any striping. So this is going to be a yarn that's very heathered. This is probably a bit too much orange over here. So I'm just going to take some of that off and move it. Now I haven't put any of my threads on yet, so I'm going to take a little bit of the Sari silk thread and just put that through. It looks like neon craziness. So this is going to be very heathered. This yarn is going to be a little bit more homogeneous in the way that it looks. It's not going to be a self-striping yarn, and it will be a little bit more muddy. So lots of optical mixing. There was the Firestar, the Angelina, so I had put this into the other. I wanted to put it into the, I want to keep this as even as possible so that there's the same fibers in both, so that you can really get an idea of the difference between making Rolags that are blended up like this versus versus the self-striping. We've done some teaching content in the past on the difference between blended Rolags and self-striping Rolags, and I will link that in the Patreon post so that you guys can see that those Rolags were done with blues and greens. I think there was some black in them, I can't remember. And the two yarns that resulted between the blended up Rolags and the, like, that were created in this fashion versus the ones that were the self-striping, very, very different. All right, so all of this blended up fiber we are ready to take off. So I'm going to use my dowels again, just as I did last time. I'm going to pull these fibers at the corners in. Look at all that color that's coming off. Let's tighten that up. totally different from the other Rolags as we take this off. That's pretty different from the other Rolags. So let me grab the other ones here and I'll show you. That's just so incredibly different. So look at how you lose the intensity between the Rolags that we made first and the Rolags that we're just making now. There's a huge difference in the intensity of the colors. You know, this is very clean, even though there's some texture in there. There's some texture in here, but again, your intensity of that orange is lost in here as it blends with the black and the green. You've got a little bit of the purple in there, but again, not as intense as it is in the original self-striping Rolags. So let me take the rest of these off. And then what I'm going to do is take the rest of these off, and then we are going to make a second set so that I have 8 of each, and I will see if I can get these spun up. Again, very, very gentle, not super intense color. I'm going to use my flicker that comes with the blending board again to lift up these fibers, clear them away from the board. I'm going to bring them in on the edges again, just like I did before. I really like these. I really like the lack of intensity. I like the heathering and the dark nature of them. I think it's gonna make really pretty yarn. If nothing else, the yarn is always amazing. You know, no matter what we do, the yarn is always worth it. Be really careful with your blending boards and your drum carders. They can catch your t-shirts, particularly sort of around your belly, and they'll leave marks in your t-shirts. I have quite a few t-shirts now that have holes in them because of blending and carding, so just be aware. Okay, so there's 5 off of there. I'm gonna go back and I'm going to make another set of self-striping, and I'm gonna make another set of these blended little Rolags as well, just like this, and we'll work on the next step after that. Thanks for watching through this, and I'm gonna continue to make and continue to create these Rolags, and I will see you on the other side.